At the end of the day, selling is transferring a feeling. If you don't have the feeling, you can't transfer it. If you don't have a good, positive feeling, dude, you're an actor. You have to sell and run your business from a place of positivity. And however you get there, God bless you. Welcome to the Primeau Show. It is episode 176, and we are here with Joe, the finance guy, also known as Joe Stepke, and we have an exciting announcement. Joe has just accepted a position with Acima that he probably earned many, many years ago, but he is now the vice president of sales for Acima. Congratulations, Joe. And we are going to talk about 2024 and beyond. But first, let's pay the bills real quick. If you haven't bought my book, Sell a Million, what are you waiting for? 101 tips for furniture and mattress store owners to sell another $1 million or more this year. It's a marketing book, not a sales book, even though anything that I would write would bleed sales. There is some sales things in there, but it's really about creating traffic, being more profitable, and it's written for furniture and mattress store owners. Best compliment I've ever gotten on the book is by my friend Doug Stewart, and Doug said, take the word furniture and mattress out, and it's just a great marketing book. So Patrick Tinney from Canada, we want Pete, go Pete. That is too funny. And you know, I have ESP. So anybody that wants a great book called Perpetual Hunger by Patrick Tinney, get that. It's about prospecting. Nothing stops me. Guaranteed to make you cry. Guaranteed to make you cry and make you more money. And this is Unlocking Yes with Patrick Tinney. And then bonus round, a history. Literally a history of the advertising business wrapped around a lot of great sales lessons. And that's just really weird because these are normally up in the top of my case. So, Pat, I think we've got some ESP going on there. Anyway, Chris is like, hurry up, Pete. Thank you to Steve Hauk and Greg Gent for sponsoring the show. The Mattress Industry Network group is just an absolutely fabulous group. I think over 2,600 people now and growing. Help us get to 3,000. Hit that QR code. If you want to learn how to build, market, and succeed in the mattress industry, don't go it alone. You don't need to be all alone on an island. There's lots of people in here. Almost all of them are willing to help you. And I would just tell you, it's a free group. Join the group and then say thank you, because you're going to love that group. So without a further ado, hello, my friend.
Hey, I'm sorry, Pete. I'm trying to order Sell a Million, and you rattled off so many. Amazon just got booked up with me ordering all those.
Congratulations, Joe.
Thank you very much, Pete. Thank you. I appreciate that.
That is huge. So do you want some free advice?
Oh, please give it to me. I am more than willing to take free advice.
I've been a VP of sales twice. I've been dragged into it on more than that, but I basically don't like the whole VP of sales thing because I'm too soft. I'm just, but don't forget where you came from, and don't ask anybody to do something you wouldn't do. And
I agree. I agree with you.
And that's probably why they made you the VP of sales, because they know you're already going to do that, brother. So congratulations. That's a great honor, and it's a big company. So
thank you very much. And not to say anything, VP of national sales. I mean, I'm not a title person at all. I hope my wife was watching this, because she would be streaming and she'd be chatting in going, oh, he is about titles. So that's funny, which I'm not, but yes, VP of national sales. But it's funny. I was doing this stuff already, as you know, Pete. Like I was helping out just so many people. I signed up Goodyear Corporate, that got us 500 some odd locations to start, and then another 200 after that. So it was just great, bringing all those accounts in. And now that I'm VP of National Sales and I'm working strictly out of the back cave here, it's just a little bit better that I'll be able to do this on a regular basis and concentrate on bigger accounts too.
Hunter decided to make one of his rare appearances on the show. That's my
thank
kitty
you,
cat.
Hunter. Thank you, Hunter, for coming.
And he's appropriately named. So Joe,
yes, sir.
Here's what a lot of people, you know what? Let's get these comments out of the way. Mattress AI, Blake Austin.
Blake.
Congratulations, Joe. Well earned. Yes. Can you pull up the other comments?
Thank you, Blake.
Chris Tahaney, the Senior VP of Sales at DreamFit, also my boss and my friend. Congratulations to Joe on his promotion. It's a win for everyone at ASEMA. That's a nice compliment.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that.
And Tim McDonald, happy Monday, fellas. Let's roll. Let's roll, Tim.
Oh, yes.
How's everything out west, brother? I'm sure it's fine. So I barely know you, and I want to know a little bit more about you before we get into what's going on in 2024 and beyond. So,
oh boy,
tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm going to go the professional side first before I go into the personal side, because I want to get the professional side out of the way. Because as you know, I help retailers or mattress and furniture stores increase their sales substantially, sometimes 2 to 3 times, more in a month in their sales. I give you examples if you want, but there's 3 ways on how I help people do that in their stores. And one is by, having less than perfect credit payment options for their customers. I think that's important. Obviously, we know what ASEMA is. The buy now sound bites, making sure that they have buy now sound bites when they're answering their phones, when they're talking. Just, obviously we already know what a buy now sound bite is, and having buy now call to actions and buy now socials, just making sure that they have that when they're using Facebook, social media, and all that. So those are some of the things of what I've done. And and funny story, if I may, because I'd love to talk about when I first started with ASEMA a long time ago. And I don't know if my sales pitch was down right or if it wasn't. I don't know. I was getting signups, but I used to go into this one store, and it was always on a Friday because it was on my way back home. And so it was in Indianapolis. It was also off of Pendleton. And Mary and Tim, if you're watching this, yes, I'm going to talk about your store. But they were off of Pendleton Pike. And I would go in there, and it was just a small store, and it was like a thrift store. And they had used furniture and used appliances, so it was great. It was something that ASEMA would do. Now we're talking about, this is almost 9 years ago. But anyway, so I would go in, and Mary was like, "No, I'm not used to it." And I would always help set up or do stuff, pull stuff out for her, and just help with the store. And then I would leave. It took me probably about 3 months to close that account. And I closed it because one of their friends signed up with me, and they were doing very well with it. And so they said something to them at one of the auctions that they met at. And the husband goes, "Do you know this guy?" Which was Tim. And she goes, "Oh, yeah, he comes in here all the time. I know, I just don't ever use him and stuff." He goes, "You need to sign up with him." So their friend called me up and said, "Hey, they're going to sign up with you." So I knew the next time I came in, I knew what it was like. So I came in that time. I go, "Hey, Mary." She's like, "Hey, how you doing?" So it was like the shift changed, and we became great friends. Mary and Tim are great people. But one of the things they do, anywhere from 35 to 50,000 a month in just a mom and pop one store location, which is awesome, just with ASEMA, just with us.
Wow.
So, and we're not talking about the other sales that they do, because they do great. And they graduated, they moved locations, they went to a bigger location, they sell new now, and I think they're part of the Brand Source group as well. But they do so much more, and that was like one of the greatest parts in my life, that when you could see somebody doing very well from you helping them, because I'm not a pressure person. I don't pressure people into buying it. I just show them logic and go, what can it do? So that's a little bit, sorry to go a little bit long on that, but I wanted to explain a little bit on what I do as Joe the finance guy professionally.
So tell me tell me about serving our country, because that's important to a lot of people watching. It's
Oh,
important to me.
yes. It is. I So my grandfather went in the army, and he was short. He was a short person or whatever. I think 5'5", maybe 5'6" or whatever. Um, I'm taller than them, but it's just he was always short. He joined the army. My dad joined the Navy, and I always wanted to be. Ever since I was younger, I always wanted to be a cop. And I remember my dad always telling me, Joey, you can't be a cop because cops don't say they want to be cops. I always remember him saying that to me. I was going, well, what do they call themselves? Police officers. All right, well, I still want to be a cop. It's a little bit shorter and sounds cooler. So there was no way I was going to graduate, and there was no way that they were going to and I wasn't even 18 yet. I was still 17. But they weren't going to let anybody in, like, to the police department at 18 years of age. So I decided to join the military. And my mother and father are divorced, or were divorced at the time. And she was living in Florida. My dad was living up in Chicago, and I was living with my dad at the time. And I just went, and I signed up. I signed up, and they said I wanted to go in for a military police. And I took the ASFABs or whatever, and they wanted me for military intelligence. I remember making a couple jokes about that at the time, but I said no, I want to be a military policeman because I did not want to be in a country far off land in a box somewhere, like sending off codes or whatever. I think I just got done watching Spies Like Us with Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd, so that's what I think came to mind when they said it. And but I went in as a military policeman. I went on the delayed entry program, went in at 17, did my basic training down in Fort McClellan, Alabama, and it was great. I mean, I remember like how I felt, like how I was like nervous and everything else, doing everything, but it made me a better person. It really did. It made me a better person. I unfortunately, I think it cursed me with that I wake up early, and sleeping in for me is 7 o'clock. And that's like, I'm really sleeping in because I'm usually up by 5:30 at the latest. Um, but I'm up and or doing that stuff with in the military. Just it helped train me. It helped train me, and it helped give me more persistence, perseverance, and but from Fort McClellan, I went to Korea. I was in South Korea. I wasn't at the DMZ or anything. I was in Daegu, and I was actually really being military policeman there. I went from line duty to traffic accident investigations, and then I went. My year was up, and I went to Herlong, California. There's a base out there, right out about an hour outside of Reno, and I was there for a year. But I have a pin in my hip, and one leg is shorter than the other, and unfortunately, I got out as a disabled veteran, or I'm disability 10%. Now I'm 70, and it was a joy for me to serve. I liked it. I know it's weird, like people ask, say thank you for your service. I always struggled because, I used to say, well, it was my pleasure to do it, but and I never knew what to say. I always used to ask other veterans or whatever, what do you say? And I heard the best line ever that they say when somebody asks me, or says that to me, thank you for your service, I always say thank you for your support. And I love that. I thought that was great because it is true. Thank you for your support, for believing in us, for going out there. So it meant a lot to me. If I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change a thing. And I think everybody should be in. I think we learn a lot on there. If people don't go in, I don't judge them, but I really think we learn a lot when we're in there. And some of us go through, our trials and tribulations while we're in the military, but believe it or not, we learn from that, and it makes us stronger.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I'm glad to do it.
It doesn't surprise me you were in the military because you seem like a very disciplined guy. I've watched you for years. I've watched you give a lot, and I've watched you create a brand in Joe the Finance Guy, which very few reps do. Most
Yes.
reps, just kind of muddle along. They don't have a website. They don't create an identity. They don't contribute on a normal basis. And if you're a rep and you're getting pissed off and you're going, well, I do. Well, fine. You're in the top 10% of all reps. Congratulations.
Right. Right. Well, Pete, I'll tell you, Joe, the Finance Guy, that I want, as much as I want to say that was me at first. And I'll tell you the story, how that came about. I was actually in Valparaiso at Luxury Furniture Mattress. So Scott, if you're watching this, how you doing? I'm about to give you a plug. And I was talking to Scott McKinney, who's the owner up there, and he looked at me, and this was years ago. I mean, my God, we're talking about at least 7 years, something like that. And he goes, Joe, if I wanted to refer someone to you, how would I do it? And me being the sarcastic person that I am, and I can't help that. That's like I think that's in my DNA, Pete. But I looked at him and I said, give him my phone number. What do you think you would do? And he goes, no, I get that. But you need to have like a website. I go, a website? He goes, yeah, I know. Like Financing by Joe. Yeah, Financing by Joe. And I swear he was on GoDaddy buying it at that moment. So that I would have to buy it from him, maybe. I don't know. But he was on there looking, like seeing if it was available. And I just was like, all right, that sounds all right. I wasn't really thrilled with Financing by Joe, but it gave me the idea. So I left, and his store is great, but I left there. I was driving. I think I called my wife, told her about it. Well, that same week, now I usually start my week, like most reps, at the farthest place away. So that what happens, we could work our way back home. So I live in Noblesville, but I think I was in Shelbyville on Friday, and I was visiting another mattress store. It wasn't Mattress Chick at the time, but the same owner. And I was talking to Grant Sparks, and Grant said the same thing to me. He goes, hey, Joe, if I wanted to refer someone to you, how could I do it? Now, at this time, the spidey sense was tingling, and, I guess we could talk about the comic book thing later, but now, all right, twice in 1 week. All right. And I go like this, you mean like a website, like Financing by Joe? He wasn't thrilled with it either. He was like, well, I don't know that, but yes, having a website that you could directly get the lead, that you could get to sign up yourself so that nobody else gets it, but I'm going to, because you take care of people. I go, you know what? That's a great idea. For now, just have them call me. I'll get with you later. So I got in my car, which I call the Batmobile. It's a Chrysler 300 Gotham City edition. Thank you very much. I pimped my own ride. And I'm calling my wife as I'm driving back home. And I'm telling her, I go, remember that guy I told you about that said Financing by Joe? And she's going, yes. And I go, I just, somebody else said it to me, but I don't like Financing by Joe. And now, if you know my wife is a New York Italian. She's my best friend. She's everything I ever wanted in a person, because she laughs at me as well as puts me in my place when I need to. So, which is great. But she goes like this, why don't you, like, I don't know, it doesn't have to be financing by Joe, but what about like Joe the finance guy? You always say you know a guy. And I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. Joe the financing guy. I think I started speeding at that time, and I'm just trying to get home in time so I could get down to GoDaddy, get down to this computer right where I am right now, so I could get on GoDaddy so I could see if that was available. Sure enough, I got home. I don't even think I kissed her when I got home. I just went straight into the basement, typed up, and it was available. And that was great. That was the start of it. And then my wife made up the logo. She's the one that did all that stuff because she does Cricut, or I I I don't know what this stuff is called, but she designs things, and she did the logo. And we even put something out there. And when she was doing it, she did something with the vest at first, and she goes, "You know what? You always wear the fedora. I like the fedora over the O. I'm going to do that one too." And so she did it, and this is what I fell in love with. This was great. So I owe a lot to my wife with making Joe the finance guy, but Scott McKinney was the one that really pushed it into view for me, like that I should have one. And I asked the SEMA at the time, which were we a SEMA already, or were we Simple Finance still? I don't know which one we were, but I asked Aaron Allred and them, like if it was okay, and everybody said sure, because I think, and I'm assuming on this, I don't think they thought it would get very far. It wasn't going to be bigger than a SEMA, so how far could this really get? Oh yeah, go ahead and do it. Yeah, nobody else has done it afterwards because I just started getting out there and people that I've never met before. There's reps that go in. I know Tia Dietz. She went in to a store and she called me up and she goes, "I was just in a store and I was trying to sell them a SEMA," and they go, "Oh, just like Joe the finance guy." And she goes, I'm here wherever she was, Colorado, Iowa. I don't remember where. And I was like, or Arkansas, whatever. But it's just funny how that went all over the place. And it was great. It's a great feeling. And I'm glad. And I tried to do something different as Joe the finance guy because I want to help people. I want to add value to people. So that whole thing, like I know a guy, it's because I'm that business partner for these retailers that they don't have to pay. They don't have to split their profits with or anything. If they call me up and they go, "Joe, I need some help with this. I need some help with, maybe accounting and accountant or whatever. They need something." Most likely, I probably know a guy or a person. It doesn't have to be a guy, but I used to make the joke. I know a guy that I can find them and network with that person to get them both together. And when you start adding value to people and the more people you serve, the more money you will make, whether it be directly or indirectly. And that's what happened with me. I started helping more and more people. It didn't matter if it was going to serve me or not, as long as I was serving them. And I think that's what really catapulted Joe the finance guy up.
Yep. That's what I've heard from everyone that does business with you. This guy's unbelievable. All he cares about is doing the right thing. It's like you guys cut from the same cloth.
Yep.
So before we go any further, thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support.
You're more than welcome. So you shocked me that, did you say you're 70?
No, I'm 53. I was born in 1970.
I said, you look like you're like 49. So I'm like,
oh, well, thank you so much. It's the Pilates I'm doing. No, I've I do a lot of like health and wellness stuff for me. I try to eat. I have my bad days because I am I am a big guy. I do like food. When you're married to New York Italian, you tell me what you would eat. All right? And she cooks amazingly. Man, I mean, Monica, just I love the way she. Of course, I wasn't going to be skinny after I married her. She said that I already had the weight on, but I blame her for it. It's her fault.
Well, you have to blame her for Joe the finance guy as well.
Yep.
So good on
Yep.
her. So
Yes.
in 2024, one of the things that I have really been amazed by is every time I've seen you make a comment, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook, there's two things that jump out at me. Number one, competence, because you know what's going on. You have your pulse on the industry, and that is huge. But the other thing, equally as important, is kindness. You're always
Oh
kind
yes.
and you're very competent. And you know, it's kind of funny how sometimes you get one without the other, and often you get both going the wrong way. Arrogant, cocky, doesn't know what's going on, and they treat people like crap. And it's like, and you wonder why you're not succeeding in sales. So I just wanted to share that with you. And that goes to my question. What do you think retailers are going through right now in 2024? And um, what do you do that helps them?
Well, that is a great question. And first off, I want to go back to what you said, knowing the pulse of where I'm at and knowing what's going and kindness. It it didn't start out like that. I wasn't, even though that you can't change character, believe it or not, when I went into multi-unit leadership a long time ago, I wasn't like that. I was arrogant funny, like cocky funny. So I think people tolerated it and somewhat, but I think as the years came on, with age comes wisdom. You learn about, well, what works and what doesn't, and especially, if you treat people with kindness. And I'm going to go to Michael Ray, who's a great guy on LinkedIn. If you're not connected with Michael Ray, you need to be connected with Michael Ray. The man is all about kindness, and if you ever listen to his story, he's got such an amazing story. And there's a lot of things that happen to his life that most people would just say they give up. But he is not. He actually goes around and keeps people smiling. His kids, his son just graduated. My daughter just graduated, and his other daughter, Maddie Moo, just great, great people. And I think when you look at that, and him and I just became friends. And we haven't talked, honestly, we haven't talked on the phone or talked I think it's been 2 or 3 years. I know that we'll, do stuff on each other's posts or whatever, but him and I could pick up the phone right now and call him up, the man will answer. Just like that. And the same with me. If he called me, besides now because I have do not disturb on because of the show. But if he called me, I would answer him too. It's just he's the one that taught me with kindness. And that's what I try to do. Treat people like you'd want to be treated. And you go out there and you just help people, and then doing it in this fashion, it really, I don't want to be that typical rep. So I just wanted to go back on there because it helps when you know what's going to be coming, or what, like if something's happening in the world, it does help. But how do you a- attack it or approach it, if you would? You have to approach it sometimes with kindness. You might have to be firm, but you don't have to be a troll either when you go in there. But going into 2024 and beyond, and it's funny now, I was watching this special with Dr. Phil, and he was talking about how much, obviously the economy, money has increased. The average, spending has gone up. I think he had on there almost by, you would have to live comfortably like you were in 2021, you would have to be making at least $11,404 more now. Did everybody get raises between 2021 and 2024? I don't know. Most likely, no, and not that much. And people have gone through layoffs. So what's happening now? A lot of the traditional credit, I was also reading somewhere that 40% of Americans are delinquent on their credit accounts right now.
Mm.
And it shouldn't surprise anybody, because guess what? It's just, we don't have the money out there. People lose their jobs. Things are not happening. So when traditional credit tightens up like that, that's where, and it all gets squeezed down a little bit, and that's where having a less than perfect credit payment option for customers comes into place, and that's where ASEMA comes in. We have a no credit option. You know, there's no cost to the retailer at all. It's better to have us and not need us than to need us and not have us. So I try to talk to everybody about that when I bring them on board. And it's just, especially in this day and age now, with, I don't see us having a decrease in like groceries or gas or anything like that. What I see right now is, we're going to need this more going forward. And there's going to be essential items out there. What happens when, somebody's fridge breaks down, stove breaks down? These are, a water heater breaks down, things, they're necessities. And that's how come, and ASEMA right now, it's not even just about the ASEMA. We're also expanding. There's also ASEMA private credit right now, which ASEMA private credit is it's almost like a secondary, it's a secondary credit card, basically. So there's other ways to use it, and it'll help people on there, because it'll be actually them using a credit card. But that's ASEMA private credit, which versus ASEMA leasing. So that's something new with ASEMA that's coming out there, but it's to help other people out there, because there are more people in need of a program like that, because you get stuck. What are you going to do? And believe it or not, do you know I had to use it? Not ASEMA. We're talking years ago. When I got out of the military, you don't luck into a 6-figure income job or anything like that. And I actually had to use a rent to own back in the day. And that's how I just had to do it. And that's how my wife and my oldest and I just did things from there. And then it just evolved. So don't use it anymore, but
When you look at the dealers who are successful with ASEMA and the ones that are not as successful, what in your mind is the big difference between the business behaviors of those dealers?
that is a great question. So one of the things that I've seen, it's the mental block. And because I've gone into dealers and I've talked to some people that have said, you know what, we don't get that type of customer in here. I
Yeah,
have to,
you do. Yes,
yeah,
you
I know.
do.
Yep. And they just don't
They
know
don't
about
put a
it.
sign on their forehead. They
Correct.
look just
No,
like you and me.
correct. And I've said that before. I go like this, because, and I'm not calling out. I'm not going to call out, because there's one that's coming to mind right now. But people say that to me, all the time. Oh, I don't want that type of clientele in here, whatever. And I tell them the story. I tell them the story about me. Listen, I had to get a fridge. I didn't have credit, and I had to go to a rent-to-own store to get it. So, am I that type of person? Am I that type of clientele? Well, no, you're not now. There's no difference, because bad things happen to good people, and it really does. And so how do you help them? You got to be able to bring them out. So I've talked to many people, like, and other business owners on there, where if they have that block going, well, we don't have that customer, you're lying to yourself. And for the person that's out there that's listening, I appreciate you being here and listening to me right now as I talk through this. But don't let a block like that happen. Remember, your expertise is in the mattress and furniture business, or whatever business you're in. That's your expertise. Let somebody else handle that. If a customer wants to use that, you're not their money manager. You're not their accountant. You're not their finance manager. Let somebody let them deal with it, because if they can't get it with you, they're going to go somewhere else and get it.
Yep.
I'll get off my high horse. Sorry about that. Let me get up.
No, that was very good. So when you look at your higher performing dealers, they're obviously capturing more of the entire market. And I guess if I was selling what you sell, I would be saying the door swings are down, inflation is up. Being able to get people financed is more difficult than ever. This is an option. It's in addition to, it helps you capture a larger market share. But above and beyond that, it gives you something to advertise. It's not even product related. It's
correct.
There you go. I'll let you go now.
No, you're absolutely right. It's product related. I think some of the more successful retailers or dealers that have been using Acima or any, and I'm not even going to do that. I'm not even going to play favorites. I'm not going to play. If you're using a lease to own option on there, it's because, and you're doing really well at it, it's because you're advertising it out there. You're telling people, you're sticking with the three things I talked about earlier, the payment options for less than perfect credit customers. You need to have that because you don't know. And I tell everybody, I want to stay on that for 1 minute. I tell everybody, when you have a customer come in, and you know what I'm talking about, Pete, when they do the touch, they touch that couch, they touch that mattress, feel it or whatever, and then they're leaving. They need to have that Columbo moment. Now, I know I'm dating myself right now, Pete, so that's all right. But they need to have that Columbo moment before that customer leaves and go like this, oh, Mrs. Smith, sorry about that. I forgot to tell you something. Have you heard about our no credit option that we offer? Or do something like that, or even having, now I'm going to jump into the buy now soundbite, or our take it away layaway option. Have you heard about that? And it just gets the customer thinking, because at that time, if they didn't know that you had it, you actually stopped them for a minute, talk to them to get them to turn around to go like this. That might be the issue why they're walking out, because they might not have seen, oh, no credit needed over here, no credit option. They might not have seen it. So it gives you that moment to stop them and talk to them. And I talk about the buy now sound bites. When you talk about people being successful, they need to have a buy now sound bite. Did you want to play something too, or yeah, there's Columbo. I'm telling you,
there's a whole generation that are deprived of. If you're a salesperson, I don't care if you're 18 or you're 58. You need to watch Columbo. If you haven't seen it, just watch a few episodes. Watch how he pauses. Watch how he and ahs and lets people talk. And then there's a lot of art in sales that we're losing. And becoming a better salesperson starts with watching Columbo. Believe it or not.
I the only guy I know that goes like this, breaks the case because he went through a trash can, found that the lady smokes Marlboro 100 Reds, and go, are those your cigarettes? Yeah, it is. And that's your type of lipstick, right? Yeah. Case broken. So, and it's always the last question he asks. Oh, Mrs. Smith, I forgot to ask, what kind of cigarettes do you smoke? And that's what I mean by having that Columbo moment too. So I'm glad you put that up there. But going back, even having that buy now soundbite and talking that up, being able, when customers call the phone, hey, thanks for calling Pete's Showroom, home of the take it away layaway. How can I help you today? It could be anything like that. Having just the buy now soundbite, having a buy now call to action. I have one when I do like some of these, and I know I didn't have that slide for you, but I have a buy now call to action. And it's about, if you are in need or want to learn more about Acima or Joe the Finance Guy, please call 615-775-1597 or DM me. at any of the social media or even on LinkedIn at Joseph-Stepke, or feel free to go to my website at joethefinanceguy.com. Now, that is a buy now call to action. And having the buy now socials as well, what are you doing on social media when you do and we're not talking about my posts here that I do in the Mattress Industry Network, because I do those other posts when we're doing that. But when most people are doing that to try to get more business, there should be something on the socials to get people to call you, to know a little bit about what you're doing. I'm doing it for more eyeballs right now for social media. But when I do something that is strictly for business, like for ASEMA or Joe the Finance Guy related, people know it, because right at the end, please DM me, go to my website, call me. So those are 3 things people need to do consistently. And the ones that they are the ones that are ranking in the money, because customers see that. And you have to be persistent with it. You can't go on there once a day or one time or even just for a week and go, oh, it's not working. Do it for 30 days. Right now I'm posting at least 3 times a day, Monday through Friday. I only do one on Saturday and Sunday, but 3 times a day, Monday through Friday on social media. And I'm doing that to get my name out there again. And I'm growing. And I went dark. Pete, you know this. I went dark on social media. Maybe, I would do like those little Joe-tober things or whatever, but I wasn't doing any social media for at least a good year or 2. And now I'm starting back in there again, because I don't have to go out driving. I'm here, on here, and I have the time. And now people are going out and they're recognizing the brand again. So, which is great.
So here's a question for you. If you had one thing to do over again in your ASEMA career, what would it be? And I'm talking about helping your dealers be more successful faster.
Oh,
what
good,
would you
because
start doing sooner than later?
Sooner than later. That's a good question. What would I do sooner than later? I think things happen for a reason. And I wouldn't be where I'm at right now if I changed up what I did in the past. So it's really hard for me to answer that, because a lot of things have come into play. I've met a lot of great people. I've helped them. I think the only thing I would have changed is, I think, my sales pitch. And I hate even calling it a pitch. Believe it or not, Pete, I really hate it calling it a pitch, because you want to know something? If I like how I talk to a retailer now, it's a little bit different, because what I want to do is ASEMA wants to buy their inventory. That's it. ASEMA wants to buy their inventory. I want to come in to a retailer and go, hey, listen, how you doing? Pete's Mattresses? Great. Glad we're here. I want to know, would you be willing to sell me your inventory? And what are you going to say, Pete? No. Anybody's going to say yes, because we have customers that we're sending in to you that are going to pick out something. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to pay you in full, and they're going to pay us. That's it. And I think that's how I would maybe change it up a little bit, instead of calling it a payment option, because you know what? Really, honestly, we're buying that merchandise from you. That's what we are. We're partners in this. And I might have changed it up a little bit like that, but everything else that I've done, I do it to help the retailers, the dealers. I want to help them grow their business. I want to see them make more money. And it's not about the money I do, because I have dealers out there that are using other LTO options. And that Mary one, do you know the story I told you in the beginning? Do you know how many times they went to somebody else? They went twice. Now, remember, I got them in the first time. And it's funny how I'll get them in somewhere, or get somebody in, and then all of a sudden it's almost like I think, God, I was ahead of my time maybe. But then they started using somebody else, and the grass wasn't greener on the other side.
Yeah.
And then they call me back, and I remember the second time They did it, and it only lasted about a month. And she goes, you know what, you're right, and we will never leave you again. I go,
Wow.
I appreciate that. And you know what? And I followed up with something else. I go, so Mary, what did we learn? And she said it. She goes, that it's not, the grass isn't greener on the other side, basically. And that was it. And she's been with Acima ever since. She's been one of the longest ones. I have a great relationship with them. Greg Elohu, he does tires. Same thing. The man never, he never took lease to own to a different level. And that's a funny story in itself, because I met him without meeting him, because the gatekeeper said he wasn't him. And then he called me up like 2 days later to come in. And I go, I knew it was you. I knew it was you. But him and I became really good friends. And he started doing more and more with lease to own. And I have several stories like that. And it's great to see that when you help people, and you're bringing more money into for them, that they could maybe retire, that they could maybe sell their business, that they could buy more tools for their stores or whatever they need, hire better people, take longer vacations, because I'm helping them grow their business through through either Acima, or helping them grow their business through ideas I might have to get more customers in. Because it's not just about Acima, it's how can they get customers in their door. So I think would I change anything? No. I wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for that. And I think Hunter agrees with me too, Pete.
I do. He got all excited. You just said something that's extremely powerful. Get customers in their door. That is something that our dealers are having a tough time with. Their traffic is down. Anybody that will sit there and tell me their traffic isn't down is either super blessed or they're just advertising wizards. And
Correct.
There's a few, but in general, the entire industry is down in terms of traffic. And so it's interesting because you do two things at the same time. You help get people into the store, get them in the door, create traffic, but at the same time, you make the map of who they can sell bigger. You help them to close more customers. And I just want to get back to this metal block thing. You might live in a really nice neighborhood, Mr. or Mrs. Dealer, but believe it or not, there are people in your neighborhood, on your street, that need this product. That's
house
the
poor.
truth. You don't know. There are plenty of people living in really nice neighborhoods that need this help. In my neighborhood, I live in a really blue collar neighborhood, probably half of them, or more. And you know what? There are people, and their money is green, because you can now cash that check. And I love this, that take it away layaway phrase. That is just brilliant.
I always like, that was something, the ride it away layaway for cars, or for the tire side of it, wear it away layaway for jewelry. It was just treat it like that, because when you say credit to somebody, and we're all like this, you say credit, you get that that little twinge in your stomach. I wonder if it's good. I wonder if it's bad. Am I going to get denied? But when you say take it away layaway, it's not, it's like it's not hurting somebody. And I don't care if you say no credit option, that credit is still there, that twinge still comes up, because it's the word. But when you use, hey, we got to take it away layaway option. Now, even if you look at it, that takeaway layaway option is a Joeism. It is not an Acima-ism, but it is something that, all right, if the customer pays it off in 90 days, which is called our first early purchase option, the most they're going to pay is the initial payment plus the buyout. That's it. And so it's no different than a layaway. And why does it help the dealer for layaways? Because when you do a layaway, a traditional regular layaway in your store, what happens? You are borrowing money from your credit facility, no matter if you're a one store or 10 stores or 100 stores, you're still borrowing money from that credit facility to take that minimal payment amount that you just took on that item. So you could put it in the back, keep it there on hold, buy another piece to put in its place. So essentially, three items are being taken up for you didn't even get money for one. And that's how come when I talk about take it away layaway, it was basically just a way to push the first early purchase option and get the customer, to use it and to think like, all right, if I pay it off in this amount of time, this is the most I'll pay. Now, everybody has the best intentions, but they do have a way, all right, I could pay it off after the 90 days, or I could follow the whole term through and pay it that way. Whichever way the customer wants to do it, great for them.
So, Joe.
Yes.
It feels like we've been talking for 5 minutes.
It's your fault, Pete.
We've been talking for 50 minutes, brother. And we're coming up on our hour, and it's a hard stop. So
yep.
I apologize for not getting to this quicker. Is there a question that I haven't asked you, Joe, that you want me to ask you?
Wow. Is there a question? I don't know if I would. I think more people, I'm trying to think, we were talking prior to the show, maybe more people would want to know about me. I am, if you could tell from my background, and I don't know, you might be able to see Wolverine on that side of me. I am a comic book geek. I am a gamer. I'm 53 and I still play video games. I don't know if you ever remember Silver Spoons. Do you remember that, Pete? That show back in the 90s, maybe late 80s, early 90s. I have arcade machines out in the other part of the back cave with all the computer games and everything else and statues and movie memorabilia. I am big like that. So I don't know. Maybe the question would be who'd win, Batman or Superman? We already know Batman would win overall. Or the one that Chris said.
Batman versus Wolverine. That's what I want to know.
Batman versus Wolverine. I think it's hard. Wolverine can't be killed. And so I mean, Batman has him on.
I can see Chris smiling right now.
I mean, it would be, but Batman would know the only way to kill Wolverine is to chop off his head. And then he would know that, what would need to go through adamantium, probably vibranium. I don't know. That's a hard one. That is a hard one for me. And I love those two characters. My kids, so everybody in the family, my wife has always been Catwoman. I was Batman, she was Catwoman. My one daughter, my oldest, I used to watch X-Men all the time. When she was 5, she could tell you every animated X-Men cartoon in the 90s. She's seen them all. She knows all the characters, everything. When we were practicing her ABCs when she was little, I would intentionally put X-Men characters on her. I knew had Iceman on there. I remember that. Oh boy, you found that. Do you know who that is? That's the guy from The Blind Side too, Quentin Aaron.
Oh wow, he did a great job in that role. He really did.
Yeah, he did. And that's me with Barry Allen from The Flash and stuff like that. So that's good. Thank you, Chris, for getting that one up.
That's awesome.
That is. My daughter was Rogue in that previous picture, but one of the things, my kids, the oldest one, she is called Wild Thing, and that's the daughter of Elektra and Wolverine. So I always called her my Wild Thing. And then my other daughter, who's 10 years younger than Cass, Victoria, she is Huntress. And then it goes, Sierra is Batgirl. And then Logan, my son, and my youngest, he became Robin. And he's Damian. Damian Wayne. So
That's
those are
awesome.
there. Except
So,
my grandkids. Now my granddaughter wanted to take over the role of Batgirl.
so who
What are
does
you gonna
win with Batman and Superman?
Batman all day long. I don't care what anybody says. And I remember being on when I used to do Cup of Joe years ago, and Ira Bowman used to do the same thing and just get me. I know Batman would win. So Batman could get my younger self. God, I had hair back then. I look good.
Yeah, you
God,
did.
man. I do. I look good back then. That's not a very flattering picture of me, but yeah, yuck. But yeah, I forgot the challenge that I was doing on that one. I think that was it was some song or whatever, but yeah, I remember that one.
Joe, somebody watching this show fell in love with you. They want to know more about what you do. How do they get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me, and great, thank you for asking, Pete. They can get a hold of me by calling me at 615-775-1597. Feel free to reach out to me on any of the social media channels. Joseph Stepke, Joseph-Stepke on LinkedIn, Joe the Finance Guy. Just feel free, or go to my website at joethefinanceguy.com.
Awesome.
And that's it.
Everybody that watched this live, thank you for contributing. Thank you for saying hi. And Joe, thank you for being you and delivering great value to our audience. I know this is going to be watched and rewatched and shared all over the place. Anyone, go ahead. What you got?
I was just going to say, I was going to say the same thing. Thank you for watching. Thank you out there for watching and letting me entertain you or talk to you for this past hour. So thank you very much for taking time out of your day.
Everybody, thank you, and go forward this week and sell 1 million. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome. Thank you, Pete.